Welcome to AutoDelight, a channel for car enthusiasts, and today we're reviewing this 2011 BMW M3 competition package. This is the 2011 BMW M3 Coupe, also known by its chassis code E92. BMW's ethos for itself is to create the ultimate driving machine, bringing a balance of a luxury tourer and agile sports car together. One normally does not place comfortable, practical, and performance in the same sentence, but BMW strives to incorporate all three aspects into its vehicles. With a sleek, simplistic design, controllable performance, and surprising comfort, the E92 is a great example of that ethos. The BMW M3 comes in three different models. There's the Coupe, which is seen before you, the sedan, as well as the convertible. Within the M3 Coupe, you have four different packages. You got the technology package, competition package, cold weather package, as well as the premium package. The BMW M3 Coupe comes with a host of standard features. Some of the standard features are shadowed exterior trim, anthracite black headliner. It also comes with xenon headlights, auto headlights, rain sensors, cruise control, auto climate control, powered freaking seats. It comes with a lot of stuff. So you do get a lot bang for your buck by just getting the standard M3. The competition package for the M3 Coupe comes with a host of cool features. One of them is a sports tuned suspension, which is 10 millimeters lower with performance tires, 19-inch alloy wheels, which are lightweight and they have the M emblem on it. It also comes with a sports map for the dynamic stability control and electronically controlled dampening. Then if you opt for the tech package, on top of that, you actually also get M-Drive, which changes your different modes on the system, as well as the Comfort Access Keyless Entry, which is just a fancier way of saying keyless entry. The tech package also comes with electronic dampening control as well, so you don't have to get the competition package to get that feature. The other package available for the M3 Coupe is the cold weather package. The cold weather package adds a ski bag, which I don't know how much that is, but it's kind of cool, I guess. It adds retractable headlight washers, which I think is a pretty cool option, as well as front heated seats. The last package you can get for the M3 Coupe is your premium package. Comes with three different types of interior trims, which is blue-gray aluminum, carbon leather, as well as an anthracite wood. You also can get power folding mirrors with that and a HomeLink system. The E92 M3 is powered by a 4.0-liter V8 engine that produces 414 horsepower and 295 pound-feet of torque, and exclusively powers the rear wheels. The M3 has both a 6-speed manual transmission and a 7-speed dual-clutch transmission. The M3 can hold a total capacity of 16.6 gallons of premium unleaded fuel. Driving the car around, my average fuel economy with mixed driving was about 16 to 17 miles per gallon. Spirited driving would be around 15 to 16 miles per gallon. Before we go over a lot of the exterior, I want to note that the owner is doing an OEM Plus build for this car. So it's kind of enhancing the OEM look as well as enhancing like OEM functionality, keeping the same kind of quality as the OEM build. but just slightly enhancing it to a better OEM build, thus OEM Plus. Regardless, anyways, one of the things that he added were these M carbon fiber splitters that you see right here on the bottom. It adds a little bit more of an aggressive touch, subtle for the M front bumper, but it actually is a really nice, subtle aftermarket mod that he did. A couple of other things to note about the BMW M3. Compared to the 3 Series, you have a different front fascia, you got wider front fenders, as well as you got a larger hood. And when I say larger hood, you got a hump in the middle as well as 2 vents. One vent, the vent on the driver's side, is a functional vent that goes and leads to the airbox. And then that big hump in the middle is not just a hump that is there for form only, there's an actual function. The BMW M3 does come with a V8 engine, which is a larger engine than comes on the 3 Series. So to allow, you know, BMW to fit that larger V8, they had to add a little hump for, you know, a little bit of extra space. So that's some ways to differentiate an M3 to a 3 Series, and it adds a lot more of an aggressive touch to it. A couple of things to note on the side. Again, this car has the competition package. So you see the little M emblem on the rim. That means it's the lightweight alloy wheels. These are 19-inch wheels, which look really nice with the car. And another way to differentiate an M3 compared to other 3 Series is this fender vent as well. The fender vent has dual functionality. It has a turn signal right here, as well as a functional vent that helps relieve air pressure from the inside of the wheel well. Another thing I want to note on the side of the M3 Coupe is the side view mirrors. The side view mirrors are specific to the M3s than the regular 3 Series. A lot of people have been converting their regular 3 Series to have these kind of mirrors too, so that is an option if you want to do it, but again, you can tell the difference between the M3 and 3 Series by the mirrors itself. Lastly, I kind of want to go over what I mentioned before in some of my other reviews, is that luxury cars have a very minimalistic design, but it's beautiful. It's very elegant. And one of the things on the M3 that give that kind of feature is the one line that goes across the entire body here. And it goes from the front fender all the way to the very edge of the car. And again, you don't have crossover lines or lines intersecting each other or anything. It's just a simple one line that adds a nice, good curvature to this body. And it's something that I just love a lot. And I know I said that was gonna be my last point, but I wanted to kind of go over that. Remember how I mentioned that the M3 does have some kind of shadow trim? I'm not a big fan of like bright moldings and those chrome trims. So if you notice that where you would have the chrome trim, you actually have the shadow molding. And it is a nice, beautiful, like black painted molding, but it's elegant in its design, and I really like it more, and it wouldn't have been the same if it was bright moldings. A couple of things that I want to mention on the side and the rear of the M3 Coupe is that on the side, you lose the functionality from the E46 to open the rear windows or the rear quarter window, that you can't do that on the E92. The cool thing with the E92 is the carbon fiber roof, which is something that looks freaking awesome. It looks really good. And with a lighter color M3, it accentuates the look even better. So I really do like that look. If you do get the sunroof, then you lose the carbon fiber roof, unfortunately, and you just get a regular steel roof. Going into the rear, you do have this awesome lip spoiler. I'm a big fan of lip spoilers. The only thing that is kind of quirky about it is that it's not right on the edge of the body line of the trunk. Rather, it kind of insets, or it's onsetted a little bit in the inside, which is a little quirky to me. Again, there's like a little space. It does have a nice good curve, so it does kind of give that ducktail spoiler. Just kind of wish it was more on the actual body line of the trunk. Lastly, on the rear bumper, you have a nice perforated grille. The grille is there for functionality purposes as well as aesthetics. You do get a lot of air coming from the bottom of your car that hits the rear bumper. So having an actual perforated grille releases that air out, and it reduces the amount of drag that it causes. Lastly, the owner, again, is doing an OEM Plus build. He put the Akrapovic Exhaust on this car. It sounds great, and it has a little bit of a titanium look to it. The last thing I wanted to mention on the exterior of the M3 is the diffuser. It might not look like it, but on a normal stock M3, this is just an open space over here. The owner added this small little diffuser, which added the 3 fins across right here, and it goes in between the exhausts. It makes it, and I think, to be honest, it completes it. It looks really good, and again, it should have been something that came from factory. Now that we're in the interior portion of the review, this car has back seats, so it's time for me to get into the back seats. There's actually a little lever right here that you can push, put the seat down. You got 2 buttons on the side that can push the seat up or forward and back. But I don't need to use it. And with the current seating position, I actually have about 2.5 to almost 3 inches of room between the knee and the back of the seat. And the back seat is actually really roomy. At my height, my hair is not even touching the roof of the car. I actually got a lot of room. This M3 seats 4 people total. There's no middle seat in the rear. But it's cool because it actually has a couple of compartments, and there's actually vents. There's a lot of soft touch material, so where your armrest is, you can go ahead and rest your arm, and it's nice plush leather. It is surprisingly comfortable here. From what I was told by the owner, the E92 Coupe and sedan share almost the same length. Now, time for me to go ahead and get into the passenger seat. The seats are nice and comfortable. You got good bolstering on the sides. It is leather, so you will kind of slip around. All the adjustments are powered, which is really convenient. And you do got some rear lumbar support. And it does feel really nice. The inside of this feels pretty spacious, except for the leg room if you're sitting closer to the dash. I really do like the anthracite headliner. The black headliner blends really well with the center dash. Now I go ahead and go into the driver's seat. The one thing I did forget to mention is you got cup holders. It might not be directly in your face where you can obviously see it, but the cup holders are actually located on the passenger side. If you press the 2 little buttons or with the silver accents here, it'll actually open and your cup holders. One is for the passenger, one is for the driver. The seats, again, the bolstering on these seats are decent. I don't get that good hugging feeling, but it's enough where you do feel support as you kind of move around in the seat. The steering wheel is nice and soft leather, but it's a little on the fatter side. To me, it feels just right, but I had my girlfriend drive the car and she didn't really like it as much. There's a couple of things that I would critique a little bit, like the carbon leather is good, but I wish it was still that fox red instead of the carbon leather. I do really like the fox red, like kind of auburnish color interior. It does give a nice flair to the car, but you get none of that fox red on the dash anywhere. So it's kind of a little bit of a letdown. The one thing I really do enjoy about this car is the pedals. I know I did have an issue with the Hyundai Veloster pedals being kind of offsetted between the accelerator and the brake pedal, but because the brakes on this car are progressive, and I'll kind of talk more about it during the driving impressions, but you can actually press the brake pedal a little bit more and a little bit harder, and you can get it in line with the gas pedal, which makes, heel towing a lot easier. Other features to note in the M3 interior is the standard tilt and telescopic steering wheel activated by the use of the lever on the rear left side of the wheel. There also is a slot under the push start button in case your key fob runs out of battery on the right side. You have a decent amount of storage in the M3. The glove box can hold important paperwork and small items. Center console contains a small ashtray as well as another compartment under the center armrest, which can slide to adjust to your preference. It can hold a few items as well. It also includes an auxiliary port and USB port. Lastly, you have fold-out compartments on both doors where you can store some paperwork or other small items as well. The analog HVAC controls are easy to use and include dual auto climate control. Your media is controlled by the infotainment system, but you do have analog shortcut buttons as well as a volume knob that can be pushed to turn off the audio under the HVAC controls. The infotainment screen contains your media controls as well as vehicle information like tire pressure monitoring as well as your oil levels. With the assortment of sensors around the car, you can check if certain areas need service as well as see any alerts that may pop up. You can also pull up trip information like your fuel consumption as well as average speed. The infotainment can be easily navigated using the knob right behind the shifter. There is an assortment of shortcut buttons placed around the knob as well. You can rotate the knob to scroll through the menu as well as use the knob as a joystick to navigate through the menu. You can also press down on the knob to select items. The instrument cluster is a dual cluster design, having your speedometer and fuel gauge on the left and your tachometer on the right. Basic information is shown in the middle like outside temp and time as well as a quick look digital speedometer. All your warning lights are placed in the middle to prevent the gauges from having clutter inside them. In a demonstration of German over-engineering, the E92 has a very interesting answer to the age-old issue of sports coupes getting their seat belts. While most cars have a bracket connected to the seat to allow the seatbelt to be in arm's reach, BMW chose this way to retrieve the seatbelt for you. Put on your seatbelt. The last critique I have for the M3 is the interesting shape of the housing for the infotainment system. It looks like a second gauge cluster, and though I admire the attempt to integrate it, it just seemed oddly shaped and not well thought out. The refined look and simplicity of the dash is interrupted by this intrusive second hump. Before we end our interior review of the BMW M3, there's one test that we got to do, the Janelle test. So we're going to go ahead and see if we can stuff her in the trunk, and that'll tell you how much luggage room or excess luggage room you have in your car. All right. Go ahead, Janelle. All right. Let's see if we can close the trunk. All right. We know we can fit a human body in this trunk. That means that we're capable of holding a good amount of luggage and even attempting to do a small IKEA run. So in the middle of our Janelle test, as I was trying to remove Janelle, we found the levers to go ahead and fold down the back seats. If you want to know, the levers are located on both sides right here. Go ahead and flick them, and then now you can go ahead and let the back seats down. Did you go ahead and put both of them? There we go. So the back seats are foldable. That makes this M3 Coupe a very practical car. So is the BMW M3 the ultimate driving machine, like BMW claims all their cars are? To be honest, it might not be the ultimate driving machine, but it is a really good thing to drive. And I say that because when I first was allowed to go ahead and review this BMW M3, I was not intimidated, but a little weary just because I've never driven the E92 M3. I didn't know how the V8 would react, and I wouldn't say I've had a lot of bad experience with V8s, but I've had issues with keeping them on the road. So maybe you can say I was intimidated. But the car is extremely easy to drive. And that's what was the surprising part about this car. So to go over first would be, let's go over the braking. It's very progressive. Like once you put your foot on the brake, it doesn't instantly clamp. It has great, I want to say adjustability, but it has a great progressive feel to make braking easy and smooth and to really regulate how you would brake. So the acceleration on this car it's linear and it's predictable. Unlike, again, it's a naturally aspirated V8 engine. So unlike the new F90, M4, or whatever it is now, or even the Q60 RS, this car is easily predictable in a corner. With here, it's, you know that you have to be in the higher RPMs to really hit your power, and to regulate that is easy, and it's fun. It makes it more intriguing to drive, and that's what I really did enjoy that as well about the car. Steering on this car is excellent. It feels nice even being electronically assisted, but they dial it in really well on this car. It's very progressive. You know, little input does matter in this car, but it's not going to over accentuate the amount of motion that you're putting in. From the research that I've done, the Servotronic steering is love or hate from the Beamer community. I personally like it, making low speed maneuvering easy while stiffening up with the increased speed. Most of my personal cars are smaller cars, and while traveling at low speeds, the M3 doesn't feel as large as it really is, thanks to that Servotronic steering, which I'm accustomed to. When you're here in the driving seat on the freeway, you have great visibility. These windows for the side doors are extremely large. I didn't realize how large it is until you're driving and you're looking around and you can surprisingly see everything. The C-pillar, you have great visibility as well. There's not a lot of obstruction. There's not a lot of trimming in your way that's causing you like a blind spot, and that's really nice. And again, rear visibility is great on this car. Just tell you guys how comfortable the Sports Plus mode is. We've been driving, coming back from our filming spot, and my assistant, Janelle over here, is falling asleep perfectly fine in the car. It's not really harsh in Sports Plus mode. It's very refined. So there's a difference of seeing 16 and 20 miles per gallon on a sheet and actually experiencing 16 to 20 miles per gallon. This car just is it's a thirsty car. It's weird. I was expecting a lot stiffer clutch than what the clutch is. It's reminiscent to the clutch on my RX-7, and it's a little bit stiffer than the Miata and the Veloster N's clutch, but it is not as stiff as I thought it would be, which I'm not going to complain because I do enough calf muscling in like stage 1 clutches anyway. So one of the things that I just can't get used to, and maybe it's because I've been driving like Japanese cars all my life, but to get into reverse on this car, there's no push down on the shift knob or pull up on a little lever or anything. It's just you put some brute force all the way to the left side. The owner did warn me about this, and I don't know if it's a common issue with BMWs or with the M3 92, but there's also an issue when the transmission is, not fully warmed up. It does not want to go into second gear, and it's like reverse. You got to put some force to get it into second gear. So my final thoughts on the E92 M3. If you're looking for a sports car that's surprisingly practical, you got to check this one out. again, going over some of the highlights is you can fit 3 other full-size adults. You got rear seats that fold down. You even got baby anchors back there too, just in case you want to put a baby seat. This car is just easy to drive and surprisingly easy to drive. And it is, for the most part, very comfortable. It's all the features on this car are easy to, you know, work with. The transmission is great, and if you really wanted an automatic dual clutch, there was an option for this car as well. The main thing that's a negative on this car is just the gas mileage.